As Heather mentioned, I'm working on a novel called The House of Worth. This is something that does not happen in the House of Worth, even though these characters are in the House of Worth.
Put in my cup.
A little higher.
How's that?
Fabulous.
Helen awoke and dressed quickly. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. It's 1964. This is a Los Angeles-based film studio doing a film shoot in the desert. And Head Hopper, in case you don't know who that was a columnist who wielded immense power with the power of her pen. She was mean or she was very nice. Helen awoke and dressed quickly. She put on a periwinkle Pulitzer shift purchased in Palm Beach while getting her annual pre-Oscar tan. She grabbed a pair of sunglasses and threw them in her navy blue quilted Chanel purse. Reaching inside the purse, she felt for her car keys, her silver money clip, a lipstick, and a perfume sample. Creeping past Horace, who was snoring as usual on a mattress he'd flown in from the Malibu house, she found the keys, fingered the Oscar tickets from a few weeks back, and slipped out of their tent deck, leaving Horace behind her. She made her way between wardrobe tents and wind machines to the studio Oldsmobile, now beginning to gleam against the Arizona sky as it turned from cold to snow. The stars were beginning to fade. The earth rubbed against her pumps as Helen swiveled into the silent interior, feeling a hard piece of sharp gravel scratch her ankle as she sat back into the car. She inhaled deeply through her nose, her hands resting on the opalescent steering wheel, and exhaled through her mouth. Momentarily, she admired the clean scent of the desert. She turned the key, and with the purr of the engine under her, reached to turn on the radio. She pulled onto the 2-lane highway and headed towards Kingman, the closest town to the shoot. The soundmen and Glenn Ford's double had awakened Helen when they'd come back the night before, drunkenly singing the town's praises, especially the damn tanned girls, which were apparently everywhere. As she drove, Helen Flanders, wife of legendary director Horace Flanders, wondered how she could have left her luggage on the studio plane, along with her fully stocked alligator makeup case. For 3 days, Helen had managed with what little cosmetics she'd packed into her purse, a nearly empty tube of Snapdragon lipstick from Bonwit Teller in Beverly Hills, a small amount of powder she purchased in France 3 months prior, and her favorite rouge from Bullock's Westwood. She caught a glimpse of herself in the rearview mirror and was thankful she had sunglasses, which she'd not removed in the daytime since her Arizona arrival. Had she been too distracted by Horace's attention to his latest ripe discovery? Was it the in-flight celebratory drinking or the damned oppressive heat that floated her from the airplane without concern from her belongings? She was determined to put on a proper face today. Helen drove towards the rising enormous sun. She knew Kingman, Arizona had to offer. She knew the best Kingman, Arizona had to offer was a down-market drugstore. Helen pulled into a spot directly in front of the drugstore and was grateful to find shade under the only large tree she'd seen in days. Maybelline. All they had was Maybelline. On top of chipped metal shelves, there were no other shoppers to witness her tapping her foot, tapping and looking for non-existent false eyelashes in any shade of anything she could work with. She grabbed a tube of mascara, a bottle of Jean Nate, and made her way to the Sandra D look-alike at the register. Tucked in with her silver money clip was a list Helen had made of her on her powder blue stationery in Dr. Cohen's parking lot after filling her prescriptions. How to deal with a cheating shit of a husband. Exotic travel, alone. Charge it. Give his money to political candidates he doesn't approve of. Charge it. Become the first one in your neighborhood to garden organically and start a compost pile next to where he parks his Jaguar. Have lots of middle-aged women over for tea and loud conversation. Learn to speak Spanish. Give the housekeeper a raise and put her daughter through college. Don't tell anyone he slapped you when you told him he gave you syphilis. Charge it. Become acquainted with the actuarial table so you can plan ahead for his death. Fantasize about what you'll wear to his funeral and what you'll serve at his wake. Hide his favorite tie. Bury him in his least favorite suit and tie. Check his pockets and throw out all the numbers of trollops and sluts scrawled on napkins and matchbooks. Always look your best. Don't stop your growth. He's a means to an end. Put in a koi pond and secretly name the ugliest fish Horace. Redecorate again and again until he dies, always selecting something expensive and large, which you know he will not like. Change hairstyles. Listen to new music. Take classes at UCLA. Purchase furs you don't need, don't like, and will never wear. Go to Sedona and take peyote. She does do that. Break his golf clubs, puncture his tires, misplace his shooting schedule, and change the home phone number repeatedly. Enjoy your own company. As she finished reading her list, the lovely girl at the register completed bringing up the mascara and Jean Naté. Helen inquired, "How many miles is it to Phoenix?" Fearing a drive to Phoenix was entirely too far to reach in time to buy decent cosmetics and some clothes before Horace wrapped for the day, Helen decided on Flagstaff. Surely Flagstaff would have more to offer than Maybelline. She drove east on Highway 40 directly into the sun. Perspiration began to form on Helen's upper lip. She rolled down her window, and the breeze briefly blew away her thoughts. Helen inhaled the desert's dryness and reached over to roll down the other window, steadying the wheel with her left knee, the wind fluttering her Pulitzer. Arid gusts played with her black hair. She let out a breath from puffed cheeks. The sensation of her hair undone moving was as pleasant as it was unusual. She wasn't sure if she was lost. As her dancing hair began to stick to the sides of her mouth, she pushed up her sunglasses, a makeshift solution, and visually adjusted to the white-hot day. She allowed herself another glimpse in the rearview mirror, without her barrier, without her camouflage, without her disguise. She knew if she left Horace, she would become the pariah at parties in jasmine-soaked gardens in the Palisades, the Hester Prynne of Hollywood. Horace had drunkenly spit out in a boozy fight that if she even thought of leaving me sweets, I'd call head of fucking Where's the Hat's Hopper and tell her you gave me the syphilis. Look what this town did to Ingrid Bergman, America's fucking nun. Baby, this town owes me, not you. Helen drove through the sand and the mountains, the heat causing the landscape to blend together in waves. She remembered the night of the Oscars just 2 weeks prior, a few days before Dr. Cohen told her Horace had given her syphilis. The day after the Oscars, the Los Angeles Times was filled with pictures of Horace kissing Helen, Oscars raised above his head. Helen's gown would later be described by Vogue as insouciant aubergine. Peggy Lee began singing on the radio. It was one of Helen's favorite tunes, It's a Good Day. The lyrics, which always made Helen happy, now made her feel foolish, naive, and a bit old. Inside the plush Oldsmobile cocoon, she caught a glimpse of herself in the rearview mirror and thought to herself, not too bad, Helen. Now Helen, an insignificant speck of life on the desert, thought of her mother. Mirrors always reminded her of her mother. The oncoming highway was pulling her back to Butte. Helen remembered her stunningly beautiful mother, appraising herself in the large, cracked mirror. Her mother would hold up a smaller mirror above her head to see if her chignon was proper, and then apply rouge and lipstick. At this altar of beauty, Helen learned how to shade, contour, and triple-check the facade that was already scrubbed clean, and then rubbed with a witch hazel-soaked cotton ball. If the hairdo was complicated, the evening's outfit would be put on first, and the collar would have napkins tucked inside to protect the fabric from the paint. Helen learned the currency of beauty early. She was confident that she was a pretty girl, a magnetism examined early and often. She began to moisturize early with her mother's warning. Remember, Helen, before 30, a woman has the skin she is born with. After 30, she has the skin she deserves. Helen was told from an early age that she had great cheekbones, like all the women in her family, except Aunt Helen, her namesake. She was also told, due to their strong features, women in her family, except Aunt Helen, looked good in hats and sunglasses, which should always be worn outside unless it is raining. Helen felt dizzy and her arms felt numb. She was squinting into the white, punctuated by a moving center of highway slashed with yellow. She had no idea how long she'd been driving. She was sweating profusely under her Pulitzer. Her left ankle felt odd, sticky. She couldn't feel the gas pedal and was shocked to see that she was going 82 miles per hour. She reached down to feel drying blood over two small holes in her ankle, and she knew. And now the neurotoxin was coursing through her veins. She'd seen a boy die outside of Butte when the doctor couldn't rush to Helen's grade school while he was delivering Mrs. Johansson's baby. Willie Bowman died that day on the playground. Like Helen, he'd been bitten by a newly hatched silent rattlesnake and didn't feel the bite for an hour. Helen smiled brilliantly, a single tear collecting the last powder on her right cheek. She pulled the car onto the deserted roadside. She could taste the metallic earth of Arizona as the car kicked up a red dust cloud. A saguaro cactus, arms stretched stoic like a mocking undertaker, buzzed in front of the gleaming windshield. Helen turned the car off but left the radio on. She thought the cactus looked like a triumphant prize fighter. Julie London was lazily singing Black Coffee. She had some difficulty reaching into her purse, but was able to expertly apply lipstick before her arms would lose all control. What she thought was a soaring eagle flew above the cactus. The bird's shadow briefly fell across her car. The bird let out a screech. Its eggs were nestled near the cactus. Helen caught a glimpse of the circling bird as she slumped to her side, her cheek pressed against her quilted pillow, a pillow against her swelling face. The eagle was actually a vulture that would later eat the vomit surrounding Helen's head, as well as her emerald green eyes. Hedda Hopper would rewrite the entire contents of Helen's note about Horace in her column, emphasizing the syphilis angle. Horace's picture and name would never again appear in the Los Angeles Times. All of the vulture's fledglings flew in Arizona for years to come.